So back on April 25th, I traveled to St. Paul, Minnesota, the capital city of Minnesota, to conduct interviews and take part in a rally to encourage the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, to reopen our state. I was apprehensive when I first arrived because I was concerned for just any number of things. How the public would perceive us, how the media would portray us. And that was one of the reasons why I went up there to do interviews. I wanted to talk to real, down-to-earth, in the trenches, people who have been affected by the shutdown, who weren't afraid to speak their minds, and that were really ready to say, hey, this is what's going on in my life, in the life of the people that I love, my friends, my family, my neighbors, and in some respects, my former coworkers. Since then, I have continued to have conversations with any number of people who have been negatively impacted. And let's just be honest, everybody has been negatively impacted by the measures that Governor Walz has taken. He is painting himself in a light that is moderate when we think of people like Governor Beshear of Kentucky or Governor Whitmer of Michigan or any other number of governors throughout the country. But he is also, in that attempt to paint himself in a moderate light, has aligned himself with many of the same people who we all see as being fundamentally radical in their approach to COVID-19. So I really did go there to talk to people about how they've been impacted, because I wanted people to know and to understand that the media is going to paint a picture of us as a bunch of fringe, tinfoil hat, extreme lunatics who are only interested in liberty and freedom, even if it comes at the cost of at great expense to life in this state. So one of the people that I interviewed on the 25th at the rally in front of the governor's mansion was a woman named Renee, who had a sign that said "Save Our Seniors," and she was personally impacted because both of her mother and her father were, for all intents and purposes, locked away in a long-term care facility. It was a touching story. It was moving. Renee was impacted not once but twice, just with her parents, and then also in their own family. So the next day, Sunday the 26th, I was at home. I received word that my grandmother had passed away here in southeastern Minnesota. To my sorrow and my regret, it had been quite some time since I had seen her. I selfishly and shallowly chose to stay away because it was hard on me to watch her decline. But my aunt and my mother remained faithful in visiting her. But for the last 6 weeks, they had really been unable to have any interaction with her. And the day before, or a couple of days before, she passed away, my mother had sent me a text and said, hey, why don't you take your brand new granddaughter down to see her? You can just hold her in the window. She would love it. I was like, hey, that's a great idea. Grandma loved little kids. She loved babies. She died alone. She was surrounded by medical personnel, attendants, but she wasn't surrounded by family. And so, fast forward to Monday the 4th of May, two days before her 100th birthday, which is today as I film this. It is Wednesday, May 6th of 2020. My near 100-year-old grandmother, who had lived through World War II, the Korean conflict, Vietnam, and all sorts of other advancements and trying times. Not only did she pass away alone, but her funeral was a travesty. Not because of the funeral director, not because of the fine pastor who preached at her funeral. It was a travesty because family and friends from across the country were unable to attend for fear of violating shelter-in-place orders by governors. Cousins, her grandchildren, from just a state away or a couple of states away, didn't feel it was safe or right to travel to pay their last respects. And we all know and understand and kind of accept and embrace the reality that a person who lives that long of a life tends to not really have a large attendance at their funeral. But she deserved better than 8 people sitting or standing there saying goodbye. She deserved to have a send-off that right now our own governor would receive if something tragic were to happen to him. Do you think for a minute that Governor Walz wouldn't have a funeral with honors, with military escort because of his time serving his nation in the military? Do you think that he wouldn't be flanked by any number of mourners if he were to die in office? His funeral would be well attended, and people would understand, and they would make exceptions because, well, gosh, it's a funeral. Let the family decide. Let the friends decide if they want to be exposed. But don't put a funeral director at a juncture where they have to make the hard decision to tell friends and family, I'm sorry, you can't do that. Or it could be my license. So this is my interview. This is how I've been impacted. My grandmother didn't get the funeral that she deserved because our governor decided that funerals aren't essential, that they're too dangerous. This has got to end. This has got to stop. This isn't just about the economy, Governor Walz. This isn't just about our First Amendment and Second Amendment and Third Amendment and Fourth Amendment and Fifth Amendment rights on down the line. Governor Walz, this is about being human. We need these things. God has built these needs into us. We need to say goodbye. We need to be there to mourn together, to lean on one another. And the motto for this country, but especially for the state, is we're in this together. We weren't, Governor Walz. We weren't in it together when my grandmother died. We weren't in this together at the funeral. Your asinine decision-making based on faulty models really kept us from being in anything together. And still you dicker and vacillate and equivocate. Because so far, Governor Walz, this hasn't impacted you. This hasn't reached out and touched you personally. It's a shame, and you're a sham. You're punishing the people of your state for being human and having needs. So yeah, this is my testimony for how I've been personally impacted by your stupid decision making. I pray that you stay healthy and well. I pray that you come to your senses and that you do the right thing according to the supreme law of this land. And that you remember the oath of office that you took to be governor, and that you took for all of those years that you served in the United States military, to be a defender of the Constitution and a defender of this nation, to keep it safe from enemies both foreign and domestic. I pray you remember that. And I pray that you remember that we don't serve you, Governor Walz. You serve us. You answer to us. And ultimately you answer to the Constitution. And then above that, you answer to God. He looks very poorly on people who do not administer justice, but instead oppress their people. I'm praying for your welfare and your well-being, Governor Walz. But I'm also praying for the welfare and the well-being of the thousands upon thousands of Minnesota citizens who are losing family members and everything else because you're more interested in appealing to radicals than you are protecting citizens. I do pray for your health and safety.